Ladies and gentlemen, it's a true pleasure to be here today with you. I'm actually here on behalf of Mr. Mats Denninger, who is the Swedish government's High Representative for International Environment Technology Cooperation. And unfortunately, he couldn't make it. He sends his regards though. He was very appreciative and thankful. Yesterday I was here to receive the reward, the Global Excellence Award 2014 on his behalf. So he sends his regards and a big thank you for this recognition. So I'm going to talk about 3 areas today. First, looking back from fossil dependence to bio-dominance in 4 decades. First of all, is it possible? Secondly, can it be combined with economic growth? Secondly, I will talk a little bit of looking ahead. What is our vision for energy supply in 2050? Yesterday we heard Secretary Dr. Upendra Tripathi from MNRE. He shared some of India's future plans and targets to be achieved by 2030. Finally, I'll just share some information on the cooperation we have between Sweden and India. So let me then start off with my first point. So is it possible to go from fossil dependence to bio in 4 decades? Yes, it is. Sweden is a good example of this. Let me look back and share the Swedish experiences in renewable energy and energy efficiency and what we can learn from this transition. Remember where Sweden is located. We are in the far north of the globe. It gets very cold in the winter in Sweden and it gets dark. Perhaps some of you have been to Sweden, so you know all of this. There are parts of Sweden in the winter where the sun actually never rises in the winter. In Stockholm, there is light around 6 hours per day in winter time. And even in the summer, some people say it's actually just a green winter. 40 years ago, Sweden was one of the most oil and coal dependent countries in the world. In the 1970s, oil was exceeding 70% of total Swedish energy supply. Then came the oil crisis of the 1970s. With an extreme increase in prices, as you know, and it hit us very, very hard. Sweden was, of course, heavily dependent on imports of fossil fuels. The prospect of not being able to rely on our energy supply scared the Swedish government truly. It was critical to diversify the sources of energy and diminish the dependency on oil imports. But it was clear from the beginning that this could not happen only with government action alone. Society at large, academia, private companies have all been engaged in this transition of the economy and the energy supply. MNRE too, as the secretaries mentioned yesterday, is engaging now with different stakeholders, the multilaterals, bilaterals, think tanks and entrepreneurs. Sweden did it and others can do it. Today the share of renewable energy in Sweden has reached over 45%. At the same time, energy efficiency has improved. Since the mid-90s, the energy intensity of the Swedish economy as a whole has decreased with almost 35%, and the specific energy intensity of industry continues to go down. The Swedish government's strategy since the 1970s has been 1. To set clear political targets, 2. To combine it with introducing economic instruments, 3. Aiming for the cheap solutions first, and finally promoting competition between different technologies. To share some examples, in 1991, a general carbon dioxide tax was introduced in Sweden as one of the first countries in the world. This has proven to be a powerful tool to increase the share of renewable energy in Sweden, particularly for heating purposes. It's also spurred a shift from individual heating of houses to development of more efficient district heating systems. The temperature in Sweden can fall as low as -20 to 30 degrees Celsius, and we need heating measures to keep us warm, as you may understand. Today, district heating is well developed in Sweden, and district heating has become almost fossil fuel-free. Another example, in 2003, a green certificate trading scheme was introduced in Sweden to promote new renewable electricity. This is a market-based system. It has proven to be cost-effective to reach our new renewable electricity targets. Our experience is that the carbon dioxide tax, together with the green certificate trading system, have provided incentives not only for investing in more renewable energy sources, but contributed to an increase in energy efficiency. It is the widespread use of district heating that has paved the way for cogeneration of heat, power, and utilization of waste heat from industries, actually. This helps to reduce primary energy consumption in the economy. Also, the energy and carbon taxes have provided incentives for households and other end consumers to reduce their energy consumption. In addition, this development was made possible through a combination of different measures: taxes, green certificates, public awareness, and changes in our legislation. Also, innovations have been crucial to reach higher degrees of renewables and energy efficiency. After Sweden introduced these changes, GDP has grown by more than 60%, relating to 1991, when we introduced first this carbon dioxide tax, while CO2 emissions have decreased by more than 16%. So there is a lot that can be done to promote energy efficiency and more renewables, and still grow the economy. To conclude my first point, during the last 40 years, Sweden has managed to break the heavy dependence on fossil fuels and to increase the efficiency in our energy system. From our experience, we have concluded that going from fossil to bio is possible to be combined with economic growth. My second point, looking ahead, what is our vision for energy supply in 2050? What can be achieved the next 40 years? We have come this far, and we have still a long way to go. We must continue strengthening our efforts to build a sustainable energy future. It's our chance to contribute to the fight against climate change, while at the same time developing and diversifying our economy. A continuous move towards a green economy is necessary. The sooner the transition can be made, the better for us all. The vision for the Swedish government is that the Swedish energy system by 2050 will be sustainable and resource efficient and have no net emissions of CO2. It's a very high target. We have started to look into how this could best be achieved. Apart from continuing with the economic instrument that I mentioned previously, and increase the production of electricity from renewable energy sources, there are two new emerging avenues that we see for transformation into a green economy that we are pursuing. The first one, we see that renewable electricity will play an increasingly important role to decarbonize other parts of society, such as the transport sector. The decarbonization of the transport sector is without doubt a huge challenge. The Swedish government's goal is that the Swedish transport fleet should be independent from use of fossil fuels in 2030 already. To achieve this, work is ongoing in the whole chain, from supporting research and development and market introduction of new technologies, such as second-generation biofuels and electrical vehicles, to subsidies for people to buy and drive environmentally friendly cars. Swedish companies like Scania is here today, are already walking the talk. Scania will make a presentation at the Congress, I think, in the next session, and I'm sure Christer will share more information on this with you. The second trend and avenue that we see and pursue, it's a very important area too, is sustainable energy in buildings. The European Union member countries are currently implementing a directive on energy performance of buildings. In doing so, strategies will be developed for near zero energy buildings. The houses we are building in the coming decades will last long and will frame the use of energy for a long time to come. With the Prime Minister Mr. Modi's address on building smart cities, India can grasp the opportunity and leapfrog, building energy-efficient smart cities from the very beginning. Buildings must be seen in the wider context of the built environment in the villages, towns, city districts, entire cities, where the buildings are interacting with the energy infrastructure, transport infrastructure, and ITC infrastructure. This means a system where the electric car is connected to a near-zero energy building through the smart grid. This calls for systems perspectives, integrated approaches to policy making. And here lie one of the greatest challenges for the future, that we are there already, and we are starting to work on this. In the global building sector, there is a large potential for contributing to energy efficiency, as the building sector accounts for around 40% of the global energy demand. The concept of smart cities or sustainable cities illustrates this in a good way. In Sweden, there is currently a project for new urban cities district. It's called Stockholm Royal Seaport. By 2030, it should be free of fossil fuels, be climate positive, and fully adapted to tackling climate change. This requires innovative solutions for renewable energy production, smart grids, and smart metering, energy efficient transportation, waste and water management. You're all very welcome to visit the Royal Seaport if you ever go to Sweden and Stockholm. Several Swedish companies, both architects and environmental technology companies, have been active in different eco-city projects around the world, as well as here in India. Estimates have been made that ICT solutions can reduce CO2 emissions by 16% by 2020, and that smart grids can help address almost 70% of the energy lost due to inefficiency before reaching the consumer. I think this is a discussion that is very relevant also in India currently. But as I mentioned earlier, government actions will not alone manage the transformation into a green economy. Innovative researchers and entrepreneurs are needed to develop new products and services that will make the long-term targets and visions become a reality. And just a few words on cooperation between our countries. Enhanced international cooperation is the way to share best practices. Sweden has a good cooperation with a number of countries, and we are happy to have a memorandum of understanding between India and Sweden on energy with MNRE, and we have had it since 2009. In our cooperation with India, we have identified some potential areas of mutual interest, like energy efficiency, biogas and biofuel, for instance, smart grid and grid integration, to mention a few. And we look forward to a continued and strengthened cooperation with India. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, we live in a time with increasing awareness of global climate change challenges. We have a situation where global energy consumption is expected to increase, but the CO2 emissions should diminish. Sweden is one of the countries that have shown that it is possible to break the dependence on fossil fuels and to increase energy efficiency, and that you still can pursue a path of economic growth. It's my sincere hope that this conference will be a place where you can share a lot of best practices and nourish contacts between the members of the Congress. And I'm also happy to have had this opportunity to address this today. Thank you.